Howdy doody, welcome inside. It's League Unlock. Eric and Mark with you guys. Ahead of MSI 2019, there's plenty to preview about the event, but obviously the most interesting is just the matchups lane by lane, what the standout storylines and matchups are going to be. So we're going to go through all these positions and give you the top 5 players at those roles coming into this event. Even though there's only 3 teams actually set in the main group draw, there still are some standout players in that play-in stage. So we're going through top 5, and much like pretty much every MSI, there are some stacked talents at this event.
Yeah, one of the exciting things about doing these type of top 5, player rankings type of lists here for an event like MSI here is the type of situation here where, hey, if you're a fan, you might not like the organization that player is playing for, but you might like that player specifically, find their playstyle, exciting champion pool, whatnot here, and this is your primer here to get a little bit of an explanation on these players and where to maybe expect their performances to fall in line with the rest of their comrades here at MSI.
And these rankings are obviously insane because you'll have someone who's dominated domestically not even inside the top 2 because there's just some incredible players. Let's start in that top lane. And last year at MSI, it was AD carries were absolutely incredible, but this year, it's the solo lanes that are absolutely insane. Obviously, you got the Shy in at number 1 on IG. I mean, again, the guy, we've seen injuries throughout his career. He played the majority of the split this year, and he just completely dumpstered.
One of the most exciting things here when you actually look at this entire list for the top laners is, of course, the Shy at the very top is this big name. But then once you start going down these levels, well, you've got Khan, who has been pretty much before the Shy, was that premier top laner that we had been talking about. And then as you move down the list, you've got another level there with Wunder, Zeros, and Impact as you keep going down. And hey man, Impact, a world champion at the bottom of this list, that shows the absolute strength here that these solo laners in the top side do have.
And yeah, the Shy, I mean, it's hard to say who can really match up with him because he can just play so many different champions. We know everyone's talking about this tank meta that's going to come in here for the MSI event, but when you have someone like the Shy, you're still going to make these carry champions work. I mean, the solo kills this guy's had, he's completely taken over team fights. He is the proverbial answer of a 1v2 turnaround gank that we saw so many times on this IG roster, and he's one of their main win conditions. We know that Invictus won a world championship by playing through their solo lanes, so you best bet your bottom dollar they're going to do the same here at MSI.
Yeah, you asked who's going to be able to stop the Shy on the top side. Well, that's the wrong question to be asking because it's not going to be one person. You're going to need to send multiple people.
At least 3.
Exactly. We've seen him turn around the 2v1s. This guy absolutely will make that outplay against you, make you look foolish, and you'll start seeing your clips rise to the top of Reddit.
And I think Khan is someone, I think people talked about him as definitely having a bounce back year with SKT and Split, and he has a chance at further redemption here at MSI. We saw Wunder have a completely dominant regular season on G2 because, well, pretty much everyone on that roster did. He's kind of forgotten about as one of the main carries on this squad just because caps and perks demand so much attention from people, but we know that Wunder can completely take over a game. And yeah, the last time he matched up against the Shy, it didn't go so well, but that's one of the great storylines coming into this event is G2 versus IG again.
Right, you do get a chance for redemption more or less here, another chance at the exam to take on the Shy, take on that final raid boss here. But when you do talk about Wunder and the improvements that we have seen from him, it's really important to look at the rest of his career over these past 2-3 years. He has really developed into someone you can rely upon in these solo lanes to carry, play those champions, find his own advantages here. And that's what we talk about. Such a great lineup of solo laners and top laners here at MSI that when you go down from the Shy and Khan, which are premier laners there, you absolutely have an emerging guy in a Wunder who's really trying to prove himself as elite at the world level.
And I know people are going to be upset because we have Zeros here above Impact, a minor region guy above a major region like North America. And I know Impact had a pretty good end, at least in FlyQuest. The FlyQuest series, he looked great. I think Broken Blade outplayed him totally in that TSM final. And as Zeros, we talked about him when we previewed the play-in stages. This guy is the best player on Fongbu. He's probably the best player in the group stage, not including you know, Liquid and Flash Wolves in that. But 31 solo kills, I just want to talk about that again.
Dude, that's where I'm going right now.
More than a game.
Hey, man.
More than one per game.
If you get the Buffalo taking on Team Liquid in the play-ins point here,
that's your win condition.
That is absolutely, exactly. That's the win condition. Zeros is a huge part of the Fongbu Buffalo getting some success here at this MSI. You're right, those solo lane play here, that solo kill potential that he absolutely brings, and if it's in a type of situation here, hypothetically, against Impact, that is certainly a matchup that the Fongbu Buffalo top laner Zeros absolutely should be able to take advantage of.
And for someone like Impact, with how they've changed this entire, well, not entire, 2 weak points for Liquid, he's probably the guy that you're looking at now on the international stage to be able to stand out and stand toe-to-toe, because we just went through some titans in the top lane for him to match up against. And for someone like Zeros, again, if that's who Liquid matches up against, we know he's already got that international experience from Worlds 2018, where he performed against some of the very best players. Impact obviously has plenty of international experience as well, but I think the Fongbu Buffalo top laner gets the slight edge over him in that top lane. On to junglers, where, again, a lot of guys you should be hyped about here. Xmithy was the best jungler around with Santorin in North America, but I don't know if you can argue him being higher than 4th at this tournament, because Clid, after that performance that he put on against Griffin, showcased he might just be the best jungler, at least in the LCK.
I think when you're looking at these junglers here, you've got a lot of talent, a lot of strong players here, but Clid's name stands out strong and tall above the rest of them here. He has shown you time and time again, if you weren't paying attention last year, you better be paying attention now that I'm on SKT, because my skill is there and I'm going to give it to the other team here and not let them get these advantages. Clid was a monster part in the way that SKT are able to get their advantages here. There were a couple times here towards the middle part of the season that we were saying, hey, if Clid doesn't really pop off, nothing happens for SKT in that game. That is really how important he was for their success at certain parts of the season. And when he was popping off, man, it was really a sight to see. This is the hype that you want to be watching from an SKT jungler.
Yeah, luckily for SKT, he popped off in the majority of their games, and that's why they came away with that spring split title. We got Ning right behind him on that list. I mean, 1-2 is the theme for IG and SKT coming into this event. Ning, we know he's super aggressive, he has great synergy with Rookie, and he's not afraid to die.
Yeah, man, he is surely not afraid to die. If you look at this list and you're looking at the jungler, maybe it's going to remind you a little bit about your solo queue players, but with a massively different level here in the skill. It's going to be Ning. He'll make those crazy plays that make your eyes pop out and sometimes make you question and curse at the screen.
And I think Jankos, he turned it on towards the end of the playoffs. He had a bit of a dip in the season, but he still gets that spot ahead of Xmithy. And we also had Kure in at number 5, who got MVP of the TCL. He had a great split there with Fenerbahce. Excited to see him on the big stage.
Hey man, what does it say about the players that we got here at this MSI tournament when you can win the MVP of your league and you're still going to be ranked number 5 here? That is the strength of the mid-season invitational.
Yeah, when the best of the best go against the very best, well, it's hard to crack into that top 4. But coming up after the break, we look at the mid laners, which might just be the most stacked position at the tournament, some of the best of all time. Welcome back, you lovely souls, to League Unlock. Eric and Mark with you guys, previewing some MSI 2019 action. We're going through every position and ranking the players because it is an incredibly stacked field, as every MSI event is, and probably the most stacked lane at this event comes in that mid lane, because you have MVPs galore. I mean, these guys have mostly all won MVPs in some capacity.
I don't know what else you could really want here from these mid laners. What type of dream scenario you could come up with here for these type of lineups, because right now when you're going through 1 through 5 here, man, I don't know if I've ever seen an international tournament here at this level that gives you this type of consistent talent in the mid lane.
Yeah, I mean, you have guys who you're talking about being the best mid laners at some point in their careers in the entire world. And I think for 2019 so far, the spring split coming into this event, I think you have to say that Rookie has been the best performing mid laner, even more than Faker, because he didn't look as good for parts of spring. Obviously, the end of their playoff run, he looked incredible. But over the entire split, I think you got to put Rookie ahead.
Right, now this is one of those situations, of course, as long as Faker's not number one, people are going to think that it's blasphemy here.
This isn't all time.
Exactly, that you got to keep that in mind, of course. No one's going to make that type of claim here. But when you have looked at the past couple of months and the performance that's been going on, what Rookie has been able to do, the skill that he's been able to show consistently with IG compared to sometimes with Faker where it hasn't really been about him. And that's not to say that he doesn't have the skill or isn't able to do it. It's just been the way that the games have played out, what the conditions have been for the win there, and that is why you have to be putting Rookie up here above. He has the performances, he has the numbers that we have seen so far in this spring split to deserve this spot, rightfully so, at number one. He's got to be the top dog heading into MSI.
And I think what's going to be interesting about this matchup is, save for maybe when they matched up against Chovy, I don't know if Faker has played against another mid laner that is so heavily emphasized and such a big focal point for their team than Rookie. Because we know him and the Shy are Ning is running back and forth there pretty much the majority of the time, trying to get them ahead. I don't know if there's many LCK mid laners that are that focused.
Right, we have talked about the thought that, okay, yes, we did have the matchup with Chovy that we had been wanting to get for Faker for quite a while here. We had the passing with flying colors at this point in the finals. But then when you really do look at it outside of maybe past matches with BDD, we haven't had this much hype around a mid lane matchup for Faker where we're really trying to examine the 1v1, what's exactly going on, the skills here. This is hype, man. I'm telling you. This is one man and number two. Rookie and Faker, you gotta watch them.
And save for their matchup against Rift Rivals, which is when Faker was carrying carcasses of former players on that roster. The last time these guys met in the LCK when Rookie was still on KT around 2014, Faker at his prime, KT 2-0'd them, and Rookie had an incredible series. So this is a, rematch 5 years in the making.
This is exciting, man. This is exactly what you've been wanting to see from this, like an MSI like this. Again, bringing the best of the best from every region here. And this is the lane to watch. We talked about, hey man, you saw us talking about the Shy, saw us talking about jungle, but man, this is the lane that you want to be talking about, because even behind Faker and Rookie here, you got Caps and Jensen representing the West here, and man, this is strong showing, but feels bad to put Caps and Jensen at 3 and 4 because normally
you can't put them higher.
Normally you got to be putting them in the top 2 no matter where they're going, but you can't because it's Rookie and Faker. Sorry guys, you're not better than them.
And Caps, to be fair, is the only guy on this list who's the reigning MVP. Rookie, Faker obviously have one MVP, but Caps got it here in the spring split in the LEC. He looked at times incredibly dominant and looked like the best player in the West, like he did in 2018 summer as well. But, there were other times where he did not look quite that good, and that's something we saw with him on Fnatic, where he would kind of die in scenarios that you didn't necessarily want him to be done.
Right. Sometimes there still is a bit of overextending, a bit of overaggression here from Caps at times, trying to push and trying to always find and make these plays out of nothing. And sometimes it's you're better off not trying them whatsoever here, and that was the case in a couple matches. But again, the majority of them always working out here for Caps in that type of situation, and is the type of player that we have seen on the international stage be able to back up in consistent years here now, improving his performance at the international level.
And we know what he did last year at MSI. He put up a massive performance. We'll see if he can replicate that against the best of the best. Jensen is in at number 4, and he's been at worst top 2 mid laner in North America for 3+ years now. So going all the way down to 4th here seems a little bit insane, but again, just the competition above him. Overall though, Jensen had a pretty solid season on Liquid. He had some ridiculous KDA numbers. A serious back and forth against Bjergsen in that best of 5, but I think on specifically LeBlanc, you'd say he outperformed Bjergsen.
Right. I think when you're looking at the entire series as a whole, you'd have to be a little bit more in the favor of TSM and Bjergsen as far as that mid lane matchup exactly went. But you're right, man. When it came down to everything that mattered here, a Game 5 situation a Game 5 that you'd been taunted about for the past 2 years now about your performance in situations like that, and you come through in the clutch and deliver a performance like Jensen did. That is a great sign for Team Liquid heading into this event. But man, you're right. got to slot him in at number 4 because you look at everyone above him in these situations. You think back to semifinals this past year at Worlds where, hey, Caps laid down a pretty heavy beating on Jensen and the rest of the Cloud9 crew. Looking to see some improvements here, hopefully from him now with Team Liquid at MSI.
POV streams should be locked on to the mid lane for pretty much the entirety of this year's mid-season invitational. Coming up after the break, we go to the bottom lanes, and in his international debut, Teddy is ready to completely dumpster everyone on the Rift. Welcome friends, family, and foes alike to League Unlock. Eric and Mark as we continue the MSI preview countdown, whatever you want to call it. Bonanza is the preferred word when you're asking me, but we're ranking the bottom laners now. Top 5 position rankings, and the most hyped up matchup or player to watch maybe in all of MSI is probably Teddy. Making his international debut. He made his LCK finals debut, and all he did there was lock up MVP.
And we talked about a lot of players already here heading to MSI. We've talked about the Shy, Clid, Rookie, Faker. Who else you want to be really watching here? Teddy, man. Teddy's got to be Teddy's got to be the number 1 name here, mainly for a lot of reasons here, not just because of the skill that he brings. Obviously, we're going to be talking about that. But man, this feels good. Teddy, we've watched him for the past couple of years and realized, man, over the past year or so, this guy has so much talent. And it was just being wasted with all the sad planes on Jin Air.
The pure embodiment of ELO hell is Teddy.
Absolutely. He was stuck in there and finally gets out, and we see these big performances with SKT. We see him playing alongside some of the legends of the game here and really coming up big time and making his mark here in these important moments that he hasn't been able to play in before. Playing in the finals, playing in playoffs, and now playing at an international event like MSI. This is uncharted territory for Teddy, but with his skill, man, he should have been here long ago, and we're gonna see him pop off on this stage, I guarantee it.
There were so many team fights this split that you saw out of SKT where it looked like a losing effort, or you see, oh, there's only 2 members left, this one's over, and then it would just be Teddy alive at full health, and he'd all of a sudden turn that into a triple kill, or just prolong a team fight and slowly pick guys off on Ezreal. He can play a bunch of different champions. I expect him to be the best performing ADC at this tournament, and I expect him to destroy.
Yeah,
Seek and destroy.
Full-on expectations for destruction here from Teddy. Should be fully in control, in command here in the SKT bottom lane, because when you're looking at it, not only his own performance, of course, going to be alongside as we talk about Mata later, but that is going to be an absolute strength for SKT, and man, that is going to be one that if I'm anybody at this tournament, shaking in my boots to face them.
Yeah, I mean, in the laning phase, they've been a lot better as of late as well. Number 2 for the ADs at this event is going to be Jackie Love on IG. You might say the bottom lane is definitely often forgotten, the forgotten part of Invictus Gaming, but specifically in these finals, they had a fantastic performance, and Jackie Love, I think right now we saw a better split from him in spring, more consistency than we were getting out of him in 2018. Again, another guy who's played a bunch of different marksmen in that bottom lane and has shown that he can be the featured carry on IG in some of these fights.
It's kind of perfect timing that the IG skins from this past Worlds are coming out now in the Riot store, given that Jackie Love and IG did win the LPL title, and in the fashion that they did, him being so important in those matches, dishing out the damage that he did remind me of the performance that he has had at this past Worlds in the finals. Things like that really did show up and dish out the damage that IG needed from him. He certainly can be one of the biggest difference makers at this tournament for a squad like IG. You've seen it in the past from him. This is a guy who, hey, I'll tell you what, for every great thing that Uzi has done for the LPL and for Chinese League of Legends, I tell you what, he hasn't achieved the same achievements that Jackie Love already has at this early point in his career. This is the prodigy of the LPL ADCs, and he's gonna be here to try and show his very best on the world stage.
Yeah, keep in mind, this guy hasn't even really played for 2 full years in a major region, so he's still developing, and we're seeing a lot of that already here in 2019. Some people might be mad that we have him ahead of Doublelift, the golden boy of North America, but overall, I don't think Doublelift was as big the win condition that we saw he was for Liquid back in 2018. A lot of that is Core JJ coming in, and obviously Jensen as another huge carry for them. Yeah, Doublelift was probably the best ADC in North America, but I don't think he was as dominant as we saw in 2018, and Jackie Love deserves to be ahead of him.
Yeah, Jackie Love really does deserve this, and I want to say that in the point of, if you actually have been watching the full LPL split this year, as we talk about, that consistency that Jackie Love did bring, much more so than we had seen from him in previous years, and again, knowing the highs of the highs that he has with his skill and what he's been able to reach before. I'm sorry, Doublelift, man. You don't have a world championship skin. Jackie Love does, and absolutely with the performances that we have seen from him this split against the performances from Doublelift this split, and knowing the highs that they have reached in their career, Doublelift, you gotta fall to number 3 here. But it's not all bad, because you still will be coming ahead of the EU counterpart here, Perks. I'm sorry, man. You're gonna be falling down here, and that's not exactly your fault.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be his first real test as the role swap man, and Betty, one of the last remaining remnants of Flash Wolves, rounds out the top 5. But good luck to Perks going up against some of these top dogs in the bottom lane, especially because when it comes to supports and who's actually going to be supporting him, it's a bit of a question mark. Is it Mickey or is it Promiscu? We know that at the very least, it sounds like Mickey is not going to be playing all of the games, which is why we have them all the way at number 5 behind Pallet, just because it's such a big question mark.
Yeah, that's the one thing I want to hit on here quickly, is that if we are getting Mickey, I think that's where you can absolutely see a scenario where you can have a bit of dueling between the likes of Doublelift and Core JJ and a Perks and Mickey lane to see who would you really want to have there. But as long as it's going to be maybe questionable here that we might be getting Promiscu in, I think that is a massive downgrade in far as the actual performance of the lane and the synergy that those two players have there together. We had seen it for a couple weeks in the past, and all we've heard since then is issues with Mickey and not getting enough practice time or being able to play quite enough. And that, I will say, is a cause for concern for G2 heading into this event.
And we don't want to roast Promiscu too hard, but you look at the top 3 of supports going into this event, and that is an absolutely insane field of guys that you're going up against. In Mata, arguably the greatest support of all time. We've even got Baolon one spot.
Disgusting, man.
Tom Kench is just a wonderful champion.
That play is just gross. You should not be able to impact a game like that as a support, man. Anyone who tells you support is a useless role, show them that clip, man.
They're a fool. Show them any of these clips. Yeah. Core JJ with the incredible Alistair flank. I know he got MVP of North America, but we still have him just in that top 3, just because Baolon is the always forgotten member of this IG squad, even more so than Jackie Love, but he is right there alongside Ming as one of the best supports in the LPL, and Mata is Mata in at number 1. But the top 3 for supports are going to be a fun time.
Hey man, that's exactly what we've been talking about here. When you're heading into this one, it pretty much seems to be the best of the best are at this MSI, and they're ready to duke it out and see who's the best champion halfway through the year. MSI just around the corner. That's all the time for League Unlocked. Eric and Mark with you guys. See you next time.